Hidden beneath the deep blue blanket of the ocean, there once lived monsters so terrifying that the mere thought of them still makes our skin crawl. The ocean we know today looked completely different millions of years ago. Back then, massive predators prowled the dark abyss, creatures that would make today's great white shark look like a tiny bathtub toy. These were the true rulers of the prehistoric seas, and the stories of their lives and sudden disappearances remain some of the greatest mysteries in Earth's history. Today, we're diving into the deep past to meet the marine giants that once held absolute power over our planet. If we turn back the clock about 540 million years, we find ourselves in a very strange world. During the Cambrian period, the seafloor was crawling with a group called trilobites. Their bodies were covered in hard armor, making them look a bit like prehistoric cockroaches or crabs. Their most amazing feature was their eyes. Scientists believe trilobites were the first animals on Earth to develop complex, modern eyesight. They lived in burrows in the sand and survived by eating tiny organic particles. They managed to survive for nearly 300 million years. That is much longer than humans have even existed. But at the end of the Permian period, a massive event known as the Great Dying wiped them out forever. A fun fact, trilobites' eye lenses were actually made of a clear stone called calcite, something you won't find in any animal living today. Shortly after the trilobites began their long reign, a strange group of colony-dwelling creatures called graptolites took over. Looking at them, you might have mistaken them for floating saw blades or tiny leaves drifting in the water. They weren't solitary hunters. Thousands of these tiny animals lived together in a single colony, drifting with the ocean currents to filter out food. Their fossils are like a diary of the ancient world, telling us exactly how deep or strong the ocean currents were millions of years ago. Sadly, as the climate shifted and oxygen levels in the ocean dropped, these unique colonies vanished into history. It was during this time that a true giant rose from the depths, the orthocone. Imagine a massive octopus, but instead of a soft body, its head is attached to a giant, straight, cone-shaped shell. These shells could grow anywhere from 14 to 20 feet long. Orthocones were the apex predators of their day. With huge eyes and powerful tentacles, they would snatch up anything that moved. They didn't have teeth like we do. Instead, they had a hard, bird-like beak that could easily crush through the thick armor of a trilobite. However, as the ocean changed and faster, more agile hunters evolved. These giants became too bulky to survive. Today's tiny nautilus is actually a distant relative of these massive, straight shells. Then came the sea scorpions, or eurypterids. During the Silurian period, these were the absolute nightmares of the ocean. Some grew to be 8 or 10 feet long. They were equipped with two massive pincers used to grab fish, and their tails ended in a pointed telson. They weren't just restricted to the deep. They often crawled into shallow waters near the shore. It's wild to think that today's land scorpions and spiders are actually descendants of these giant sea monsters. They had an incredible ability to adapt from saltwater to land, but even they couldn't survive the harsh environmental shifts of the prehistoric world. The Devonian period is often called the Age of Fish, and its undisputed king was Dunkleosteus. This fish didn't have scales. Instead, its entire head and chest were encased in armor plating as hard as a rock. The scariest part was its mouth. It didn't have traditional teeth. Rather, its jawbones were sharpened into massive self-sharpening blades. Its bite was 4 times stronger than the great white sharks. They were so aggressive that They would even eat smaller members of their own species. But as the oceans warmed and food sources dwindled, these armored warriors eventually died out. Moving into the Mesozoic era, when dinosaurs ruled the land, some reptiles decided to head back into the water. One of the most famous was the ichthyosaur. While they look a lot like modern dolphins, they were actually cold-blooded killers. Their eyes were as big as footballs, allowing them to see prey in the pitch-black depths of the sea. Alongside them swam the plesiosaurs, famous for their incredibly long necks and for paddle-like flippers. If you've ever heard descriptions of the Loch Ness Monster, it looks exactly like a plesiosaur. They would hide in the deep and use that long neck to snap up passing fish. But the creature that truly dominated the Mesozoic seas was the mosasaur. By the end of the Cretaceous period, they were the undisputed emperors of the ocean. Reaching lengths of 50 to 60 feet, their mouths were terrifying. They actually had a second row of teeth on the roof of their mouths, meaning once they bit down, there was no escaping. They would even attack and eat smaller plesiosaurs. When a massive asteroid hit the Earth and wiped out the dinosaurs, the mosasaurs couldn't survive the resulting firestorms and the impact winter that followed. During this same era, creatures called Ammonites and belemnites also disappeared. Ammonites had beautiful, coiled shells like giant snails, while belemnites were shaped like sleek bullets. They were a vital part of the ocean's food chain. Today's squids and cuttlefish are their modern descendants. Interestingly, the shells of Ammonites follow such perfect geometric patterns that they still fascinate mathematicians today. Finally, we have to talk about the greatest predator in the history of the world, the Megalodon. This gargantuan shark ruled from 23 million years ago. Until about 2.6 million years ago, the Megalodon was roughly 60 feet long, and a single one of its teeth was larger than a human hand. These monsters were whale hunters. However, as the Earth cooled and whales moved toward colder polar waters, the Megalodon couldn't adapt. A combination of starvation and changing ocean currents eventually sent this legendary shark into extinction. While many people think the great white is a direct descendant, the Megalodon was in a league of its own, much bigger and much more terrifying. The disappearance of these giants teaches us a powerful lesson. The Earth moves at its own pace, and no ruler lasts forever. Whether it was a massive asteroid, volcanic eruptions, or just a slight shift in the climate, entire empires that lasted millions of years were wiped out. Today, we humans try to control the sea, but we have no idea how many bones and mysteries are buried beneath that blue surface. Nature has shown us that survival isn't just about being the strongest, it's about being able to change when the world changes. Our journey today was a long trip back through time. The stories of these lost creatures remind us just how diverse and mysterious our planet really is. These monsters might just be stones and fossils in a museum now, but once, they were the heartbeat of the Earth. If you listen closely to the roar of the ocean, you can almost hear the echo of their rain. What do you think? Do you believe there could still be an ancient monster hiding in the unexplored depths of the ocean that modern science hasn't found yet? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this trip through history, let me know.